Hey, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Autumn Ashley, and today I want to continue on plotting my fantasy story. I have done a little bit of, brainstorming, but just kind of thinking about the story while I was at work. I went through all of my notes for Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures. I went over the notes that I took for Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and I did the same for Story Genius. There's a few things that I think I need to change in my story. My outlining was a little all over the place, but I feel like it was justified because I was trying to get a good flow. I was trying to get back into the story and discover the characters. I felt like my main character, she felt a little stuck, and I couldn't really get a clear picture of my main character, the character I wanted to tell the story. There is also another main character, but she's more of a secondary character. She had a clear vision, she had clear motive, and I really could connect with that character. So going back through Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures, the notes I took on that, I think I made a mistake with the main character, with who I wanted to tell the story. I think the person that would tell a much better story is my secondary character, because she just came so much more natural to me, and it seems like she has a much more interesting story to tell. I think my main character that I think she has an interesting story, and I think that once I flesh her out a little bit more and understand her a little bit more, she's going to make a much better secondary character than a main character. So I think I'm gonna switch those two characters. The person that I have being my secondary character currently, I think she needs to be my main character, and then having my main character be my secondary character. After I've made that change, that switch in my mind, the story itself, like the plot, seems like it's unraveling. I think I said in my last vlog, maybe towards the end of the vlog, where I felt like I spent a lot of time at the beginning of the story for all of my projects, and then the middle and the ending are a little unclear. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like after I made the switch between the two characters, this main character, she has a solid ending. Like, I know her ending. So that makes a lot more sense, because now that I know the ending and what I want her ending to be, I can now work backwards. So I like the way that this has stumbled upon me. I'm glad that I am realizing this in the plotting stages versus writing the story and realizing the characters are not working. I think that's the route I'm going to go. And today I want to still work on the characters. I want to make a characters document. I went through all of my notes on characters, their flaws, their motivations, their wants, their needs, desires, and all of that stuff, and like the things that they want, why they can't get them. I have all of that stuff that I really want to work on, and I wasn't gonna make a separate Google Doc, but I think I need to, just to keep it organized more in my head, so that I have just one single document that has all of my characters in it. But I've been talking for a little while. I'm making a fruit smoothie. I'm gonna make breakfast and drink my coffee, do some things, and then check back in with you guys. Spent the last hour doing a rough cut of a YouTube video that is going to come out. By the time you guys are seeing this video, that video will already be posted, but I want to do some writing. Last night when I sat down and I was doing a little bit of listening to Brandon Sanderson's lecture and I was taking some notes, I was in a Google Doc and I was trying to type. So I got fake nails, not really fake nails, but it's like a dip thing on your like actual nails. It's like a dip powder. I got it for a wedding I was in back at the beginning of January. So it's been almost a full month that I've had these things on, and I cannot freaking function. I cannot do things. I kept knocking shit over at work the other day because I'm not used to having long behind nails. My whole point is I want to sit down and write, but I can't do it with these ridiculously long nails. So I've got to go take them off. I just know that if I sit down to work on this story and the clickety clack on my laptop on my keyboard, like the double tap with my nail, I'm just not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna go get this nonsense taken off of my nails so I can do some writing. So I will see you guys in a bit. I'm back and my little stubby nails have returned. So now that I have my stubby little nails and I can type, that's what I'm gonna do. It's a little past noon and I wanna spend at least an hour, hopefully an hour and a half, working on the characters that I was talking about in the first clip. I want to give you guys another update afterwards, going a little bit deeper into the characters and how I am figuring out all of this stuff. I feel like today I have a much better game plan than I have for the last couple of weeks when I was working on this project, mainly because now that I have done what I did for the last couple of weeks, the last couple of weeks was getting back into the story, brainstorming, figuring out what direction I wanted the story to go. And since I'm back into the headspace of the world, now I can make some pretty good progress. So that's what I want to do for the next hour and a half. It is 1:30 now and I have done so much work. I had my playlist going. It's my music playlist for this project. I know I talked about in the beginning clip of this video that I thought I needed to switch my main character and my secondary character, so I switched them. I reflected on the character sheet that I had made actually for my other project. I had made one when I was working on Project Burning Roses. I went back over that character sheet that I had created. Some of the stuff on there I didn't like. So I took some of Brandon Sanderson and Save the Cat and Story Genius stuff and I put all of that into a new character sheet outline and I filled that in, and I filled it in knowing that my main character was now the secondary character and the secondary character is now the main character. It fits so much better. I haven't dealt with the plot at all today. I've just been building my main character, who is now my main character, and figuring out her motivations, figuring out what her limitations are, her flaws, and building off of that. And I've been reflecting on Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures, the notes that I took for that to try and home in what all of those things are. In his lecture, he talks about a sliding scale of likability, proactivity, and competency for characters. He used Star Wars and he used 3 characters in Star Wars, so like Han, and where he would fall on this likability, proactivity, and competency scale, as well as Luke and Leia. But what I did is for my main character, my 2 secondary characters, I did that sliding scale. It is good for not all of these characters to be completely likable, to be very proactive, and to be competent. It's good to have a variation. I love having the sliding scale as a great visual, and that's what I was working on too, is having my main character. She is not the most likable person to start out with. She is very difficult to get along with. She's arrogant, but her arrogance is kind of a mask because she is afraid that somebody is going to discover that she has magic, and this magic is forbidden in the world. So she tries to hide all of this. She is not a very proactive person, but she is somewhat competent because she has to, in a way, hide her powers from people. And then compared to my secondary character, she is a very likable person. She is a single mother with a child who has magic in this world, and she is proactively trying to save her child. She is trying to help bring a sense of awareness to magic, that it's not something that should be feared. It's something that is more misunderstood. Her competency is somewhat there. I mean, she has to have some type of knowledge of magic in order for her to be helping inform other people of magic. I just wanted to give an example and to tell you guys that's what I've been working on and establishing, as Brandon Sanderson calls it, empathy, or how you're going to be rooting for the character. So I've been working on that for those main 2 characters, as well as one of the other characters who on this sliding scale, he is not likable. He is very proactive and he has a somewhat okay sense of competency. So that's what I've been working on for my main character. I wrote out like a brief summary of her entire story, how she is at the beginning, and I wrote her ending. And I guess technically I did that for my secondary character too. I haven't done it for the other character that I just talked about, him. Haven't done his yet, but I did the main 2, their 2 stories. Now I feel like because I know where they're going to end, I think I can fill in the rest of this character sheet that I created using Brandy Sandy's writing lectures and the craft books. I want to do at least one more hour of writing today, but I don't think that's what I'm gonna do after lunch. I need to do some cleaning, household things. My stomach just growled. See you guys soon. Make sure you grab yourself a snack if you haven't already, and I will meet you back here soon. Maybe not in this spot, but soon. So it is sometime later since I have been working on writing and doing more of character motivations and solidifying some parts of the story. But now I haven't had a chance to write out all of my scene cards quite yet. I've added 3 or 4 more characters that I've been working on motivations for. I've been writing out everything I know, if their motivation is going to be included in that. It feels like it's going really well. Using all of my notes from Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures, using Save the Cat, and even Story Genius to a degree, using those 3 sources have been really making my characters feel less cardboard. Occasionally I can catch myself putting the same motivation for 2 characters, and I'm really trying not to do that. I mean, some characters will have similar motivations, but for the most part, you know, everybody needs to be staggered. Everybody needs to have different motivations, or at least their primary motivation. So I've been trying really hard to make sure that everybody's motives are slightly different, and if that makes sense to the character. I have some Pinterest things that are saved, and it talks about the archetypes, so I've been going through and reading those while I'm trying not to write a character to a role. This is gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself. I've been looking up the archetypes online and comparing them to the characters that I have so far. And while I'm not wanting to write my characters into a certain role, I want to at least have an understanding of where the characters might fall in the story once I start drafting. And I hope that makes sense. You know, so not everybody is a love interest, or not everybody is the hero. I want to make sure there's a solid dynamic between my characters. And then I have my plot that I still want to write out, and I want to write out those scenes on the scene cards, even put which characters would be in the scene, and then seeing which of those characters would best fit in the scene. It seems like there's a lot going on, and I just think it feels chaotic, and I think that's just how the plotting is for this. I feel like what I'm doing makes sense in my head, but I don't feel like I'm explaining it the best way. But just know that I'm learning from my past 2 novels, learning from the mistakes that I've made, and I'm trying to be better. And I feel like because I'm trying so hard to be better and to be more productive with this plotting, it feels a lot better. Hopefully it's coming across like that, but I'm about to sit down to do a little bit more plotting. Hopefully I can get out my scene cards. I think I'm gonna go get them just so they're sitting out. So I still wanna work on my character motivations. I really wanna solidify that, at least as much as I can tonight, because I want to move on to working on the plot, or the main plot and the subplots. That's what I really want to work on. I don't know if you guys have ever tried Plot Grid, but I did write it out. I had made it in a Google spreadsheet, I think, but I didn't like the way that looked, so I used my notebook to make one. I do want to fill that out and make it pretty rough. I'm using a pen, I think, which might not be the best, but I can always just remake it. I am going to be working on all of those things now. Why, hello. It is a good bit of time later. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow I'm gonna be, or later today, I'm gonna be going back to work. So on these days, I try to stay up as late as I can into the night. And I have three things that I want to do tonight. I want to work on the story, work on plotting it. I want to do a little bit more editing in one of the videos that's going to go up next week. And I need to do a little bit of cleaning around here. I have about 6 hours to do all of that stuff. I think I want to get the writing out of the way first, just because I know as the night goes on, because it's 1 a.m. now, I know as time goes on, I'm going to get more tired and more tired and more tired. The tireder, that's not a word. The more tired I am, I feel like the less effective my writing is. We're gonna do the writing first for as long as I can, and then I would like to get up and do a little bit of cleaning next, and then maybe do video editing later tonight. Earlier tonight, when I was working on plotting and everything, I did end up writing out some scene cards. They are really nothing fancy. They're different colors only because it was cheaper to buy like multicolored ones, but I have cards for a little bit of the backstory, like key scenes from the backstory. I have a few key scenes from the first act, the second act, and the third act. I did a brief description of what the scene is, and then the characters in that scene, and then an emotion that they had during that scene. I'm not a big scene card person, I'll be totally honest. They've never worked for me in the past, but I also don't think I did scene cards in the best way in the past. I'm trying them a little bit differently. I feel a little more experienced doing the writing and trying out scene cards, so I'm giving it a shot. I was going through all of the ideas that I have in my document, and that's where I was getting these ideas from. I was also getting these ideas if when I was figuring out characters, if a scene popped up into my head and I liked the idea, I did write it down. There's not many, but that is something that I think I want to start doing, just to get an idea of all the scenes. Once I start laying out the outline of the story with the plots and the beats and everything, I think having scenes will be extremely beneficial. And if I'm kind of writing them along the way as I'm figuring out who these characters are, I think it will help make that process a little bit smoother. I think I need to bounce back to focus a little bit more on the plot now. I talked about this earlier, but I didn't actually show you guys. This is the plot grid. I haven't started it, obviously, so I think I'm gonna give that a shot and see how that goes for me. In this little grid, I have the main plot and then 3 subplots, but of course there can be more. I just didn't want to be greedy and do a lot of subplots. I have a few ideas that I want to play around with some subplots, but I want to keep the subplots to a minimum. I did that in my second story. I did not do a lot of subplots. I liked that for a first draft because I feel like later on when I want to revise and do a second, third draft, whatever, I can give myself the opportunity to add in subplots. So I'm liking this so far. We're just gonna have to see how it goes, but that's what I want to work on now, and it's 1:03 a.m. I guess I'll work for an hour minimum and see where that gets me. I'm gonna be working for the next 3 days, and those shifts are 12 to 14 and a half hours each. We're not going to be doing any writing for the next 3 days, so I want to try to get as much done tonight as I can. In order to do that, I gotta put the camera down. It's an hour and a half later. I've made hella progress on this story, but I think I'm done for the night. I did a little bit of that plot grid I was telling you guys about. I outlined I say outlined, but wrote like a 1 sentence describing the chapter, and I did the first 4 chapters, and then also in that plot grid I did the main plot. I added 2 different subplots, so I'm pretty excited about that. One of them is a smidge of romance. It's a friends to lovers, and then the other subplot is very important because this is going to introduce another group of people who are going to be more important later on in Act 1. It's coming along pretty smoothly. Changing my main character was seriously a game changer. This story is just flowing a lot better now that the main character is who she is now. I'm really pleased with that. Pretty pleased with how this is going. This is a lot how I remember it going back in August, I think, was when I was working on this, and I was really having a good flow with this story and having a lot of fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with the story again. I've gotten to that point where now I know where the story's going and I'm interested. I'm having fun with these characters. Creating a diverse cast of characters too is really fun. I'm really enjoying this so far. Out of the 3 books that I've outlined, this one by far is the most fun, and I think it's because I have a better understanding of what I'm plotting and just everything working together versus doing all of the setting and then doing all of the characters and then doing all of the plot. Doing everything kind of at once and doing a little bit of each section is really really working. If I change something or if I make a character a certain way, I'm already seeing how that could potentially be an issue for the plot. And I like that because I'm saying an issue, but really it can cause conflict, and that's what we want. By far, this is probably my most exciting project. So far, I have 9 characters that are in the first act. I have names for 8 of them. 7. I have names for 7 of them. I have at least one interaction with that character with my main character. So I might not have a full character profile for all of those characters, but I wanted to put at least one interaction with my main character. So that gives me an idea of what I'm working with. I like it so far. I think it's going pretty well. I will see you guys tomorrow in 3 days. That's right. I'll see you guys in 3 days.